Okay, everybody, welcome back. We are in round number 4 for the Winter Invitational. And on player 1 side, we are going to have Josh playing MonoBlack Midrange, and on player 2 side, we have Pavel piloting Cephalid Breakfast. Joining me as a special guest today on commentary, you've heard his voice before, Kevin. Kevin, welcome back. How's it going, Kevin?
Hey, thank you, man. Not too bad. Yourself?
I'm doing pretty well. Hopefully, all of this recording goes smoothly and all these games are enjoyable. I think that's my biggest priority right now in terms of Magic. But yeah, how have you been since the last time we had you?
Not too bad. I've not really kept up with the meta, but it's mostly the same stuff. I've seen, I guess, Beans is the big addition since last time.
Yes, yes. I would probably consider it like the archetype is probably the best deck in the format at the moment. But yeah. So we are going to start off. Looks like they have finished shuffling up. They have decided who's going first. Sorry, I wasn't really paying attention. Did you see who was going first? Who won that rock paper scissors there?
I think Breakfast won the dice roll, so Breakfast should be first here. I'm not
Okay.
100% sure.
So we're gonna see opening hands here.
Looks like good hands on both.
Yeah, who do you think is well positioned here?
I kind of want to say I'm actually not too familiar with Josh's mono black deck, but I think that, well, based on his opening hand, it looks like he's sort of well positioned here. Pavel's deck has a lot of searching in it, so it's a bit soft to opposition agent, and
Mhm.
he's got a lot of discard. And Pavel's fair plan, I think, is actually not the greatest. I think in this matchup, you're either going the Saga route or you're going to try to combo off. So these Thought Seizers are probably going to be pretty good.
Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna see Pavel start off with a Misty Rainforest and crack it to find a Tundra, casting a Ponder. You look at the top two. There's 2 lands and a Force of Will, and I think he just drew the Force of Will and kept the other 2 on the top. Now we're going to Josh's turn. He draws for turn and Thought seizes immediately. This is most likely going to be getting the Cephalid Illusionist if it resolves. So it's a good thing that Pavel kind of picked up that Force of Will this turn. So I think Pavel's going to be deep in the tank here. I think it's not terrible to Force of Will exiling this Narc Amoeba.
Yeah, it's kind of a one for one.
Yeah, Teferi's kind of a little bit more powerful than a 2 mana 1/1 flyer.
Yeah, I think the biggest fear here for Pavel is that if you let this resolve and Josh ends up taking Teferi, then if he has a removal spell, it's kind of hard for you to make good use of this hand. Narcomoeva's sort of dead, so I feel like you're just kind of trading one for one here.
Yeah, so we're gonna see Pavel Force of Will, the Thoughtseize, and then draw for his turn. Going to play a Marsh Flats that he finds off the top and crack it. Most likely going to be for another Tundra. I don't think we're splashing a third color for this variation of the deck. All right, Josh draws for his turn. Going to drop an Ancient Tomb for his land for turn, and just gonna pass. Do you think he's trying to snipe like a fetch land or something, maybe with like an opposition agent?
Yeah, you can also get a Stoneforge Mystic here, so Pavel probably has to be pretty careful about the Oppo agent, but he has Teferi here, so it's forced action.
Yeah, this is a very nice solve to the opposition agent, but we're going to see it come down anyway. If Josh doesn't cast it now, then it's pretty hard for him to get rid of this Teferi without the Shield's Edict, which he does have in hand. But I guess I don't think you want to be using your Shield's Edict on this Teferi if you can just attack it down, right? You kind of want to catch Pavel with his pants down while he's trying to go through his combo and try to edict away his Cephalid Illusionist.
Yeah, I think probably what makes the most sense is he's just gonna. I think Josh is just gonna recast the opposition agent here. Um, I think it's not super likely that you're gonna get comboed out. It'd have to be Nomad on core off the top here. The Wasteland was pretty nice to have here. He gets to cut off the Saga plan.
Yeah, so we're gonna see Josh instantly go for this Urza Saga after recasting the opposition agent, just like you said, and just going to pass back to Pavel. He's gonna draw for turn, finds a Scalding Tarn off of the top, going to uptick the Teferi, so now he can cast his sorcery speed, or his sorceries at instant speed. Going to hard cast a Narcomoeba. I don't think this is ever what you want to be seeing when you're the Cephalid breakfast player.
Yeah, this is definitely the fail case. You can't be done with Narcomoeba, but it's a little bit sad. I think losing that Saga means that Pavel's kind of priced into trying to dig for this combo now. Yeah, because Opposition Agent also cuts off the like Stoneforge for Cauldron lines, which is the other
Mhm.
way that I think Mono Black can have a lot of trouble beating that without Children's Edict.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the mono black deck is a little bit more better, well positioned than other decks to deal with the Cauldron Complete, just because it does have all those edict effects. I'm assuming that there's quite a few number of these Shielders Edict and then some number of sudden edicts out of the board. But we're gonna see Josh cast the sudden edict to get rid of the Narcomoeba, and he's gonna attack down the Teferi with the opposition agent. Going to clear up the board and draw. Pavel gonna draw for turn. Going to instantly slam down a Ponder. And do we get to see what it is? I know there's a step through in there on the top. I didn't get a chance to see the other two. But instantly gonna shuffle.
Yeah.
So if you're in Pavel's position, what are you trying to? Are you still trying to? I guess like Plan A is always going to be trying to combo against a deck like Josh's, right?
Yeah, I think I'm not sure if I think Breakfast plays plows in the sideboard, right? Like they don't main deck plow, so I think it's
Mm-hmm.
pretty hard for him to get rid of this opposition agent. Like even if he has Teferi again, um, I think unfortunately he just has to manually dig for the combo, and unfortunately step through doesn't even work because step through requires you to search.
Mm-hmm.
So this is kind of looking like another shuffle. He has Daze, step through, and brainstorm.
Well, I think. Oh yeah, that is what he's looking at. So that is another shuffle. Did you get a glance at what's in his hand?
Yeah, I think he had. I think everything was face up from the original Thoughtseize. I think it's still Cephalid, Illusionist,
Mm,
Scalding Tarn, and I can't remember what the last card is. I think it was that second Ponder. So he draws
okay.
Daze. Daze is not the
All
greatest here.
right. Yes. Well, we're gonna see Josh pick up another wasteland for his draw for turn. Down it comes. I suspect that there's just no other lands in Josh's hand, which I think at this point in the game, you're pretty okay with this, right? Like if you want to just try going after Pavel's hands, he's not doing too much else, but neither is Josh.
Yeah, I think it's a little dangerous to fire off the Wasteland because you have Shielders Edict to interrupt the combo. So I think I would save the. I like him passing with the Wasteland here, just in case
Mhm.
a Saga comes around. Because Saga, I think, is probably Pavel's main line of action that's not comboing. But oh, I don't know if Josh still has a second Shielders Edict because he did Edict the Narcomoeba, right?
Yes, he did. I mean, I think that was the only Shieldred's Edict that he used, and I think he had a second one in hand. Yeah, so wow, so Pavel does play three colors. There is an Underground Sea. Josh immediately gets rid of it during Pavel's end step. Gonna draw for his turn and swing in with the opposition agent. Goes into his second main phase, plays basic Swamp, and then passes the turn. So Josh at 14 and Pavel at 12. Pavel just gonna drop down an island and pass it back to Josh. And straight into combat, we're just going to try to make this game go a little bit more quickly here.
Yeah, the lack of removal in Pavel's main deck is really punishing him here against this opposition agent. Like he's gonna have to naturally draw. Well, there's Shuko, so Illusionist is online here, but he's gonna have to get through a removal spell, I think. At least one.
Yeah, so if you guys aren't aware how Cephalid Breakfast works, what Shuko says is for 0 mana, you can equip it to a target creature. And then Cephalid Illusionist says whenever it's targeted by a spell or an ability, you mill the top three cards of your library. So do you want to just quickly run through how Cephalid Breakfast wins from there once he has this loop established?
Yeah, so once you have the loop established, you can essentially mill your entire library into the graveyard, and the main combo line is you flashback Dread Return from your graveyard, and Dread Return is basically a reanimate from the yard. The flashback cost I believe is sacrifice 3 creatures. So
Mhm.
Narcomoeba normally is in your deck to help power that, and you reanimate Thassa's Oracle with your empty library, and that trigger will produce a kill. So this game was also awkward because Pavel had already lost 2 Narcomoebas, so even if he had milled his library, I don't think he can pay the. Oh, I guess the illusionist itself would have been the third creature for Dread Return, since you don't
Yeah.
actually need it anymore.
So we're just seeing Josh firing off it like almost what seems to feel like an infinite number of removal spells. So we didn't get to see Pavel fully go through that loop that you just described because he interrupted it, or Josh interrupted it with the sudden edict. So I think Pavel only got one trigger off, and then the Cephalid Illusionist died, and then he got the Narcomoeba, and then Josh spent a Dismember to get rid of the Narcomoeba that was milled into the graveyard.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Game one looks very, very difficult for breakfast with all these removal
Yeah.
spells, and Oppo Agent cuts off like a lot of a lot of your fair cards. Like it cuts off Saga, cuts off Stoneforge. Teferi's not gonna win the game by itself. So
All right, so we're gonna see Josh play a Palantir of Orthonk. So if you guys watched the 1K that I just posted up, we saw Josh play this against Taylor, and I was very impressed by this card. Like in a mid-range deck like Josh's, where he doesn't have much finishers other than just beating down with his really disruptive creatures. This Palantir gives him so much card advantage and allows him to see so many cards like per turn. It's like I think it was like a preordain during his end step, like every turn. And it's either he draws a card or his opponent loses massive amounts of life. Have you ever had do you have any experience playing against this card?
so I've actually seen this card in Modern a little bit with the Cabal Coffers
Okay.
MonoBlack control deck. I don't really know how good it is, but I mean in this spot it looks incredible, right? I think it's really good if you're actually a deck that can pressure your opponent. So maybe in
Hmm.
coffers it's a bit rough because your opponent can like usually you don't get their life total very low, right?
No.
So normally they'll just mill you a couple. They'll let you mill a couple times, you know. Um, but in a long game, like in a control mirror, for example, like Palantir becomes extremely threatening, right? And here it's like
Yeah.
when you're being pressured by a 3/2, it's kind of hard to. Yeah, Pavel has to let his opponent draw here pretty much every turn.
Yeah. So we're gonna see. So Pavel cast his Stoneforge Mystic, and he declined to search because he doesn't want Josh controlling his search with the opposition agent. But we're gonna see Josh respond with a Daughty Voidwalker, and he's resolving his Palantir. And before his end step, it looks like he's gonna try to Bowmaster. Looks like he decides against it. So yeah, Pavel looking in a really rough position here.
There's nomads, but without an illusionist, this card doesn't really do anything. I guess it can bounce damage onto the Stoneforge. It can bounce the Bowmaster onto Stoneforge.
Yeah. Looks like he's trying to try to equip the Shuko to it. So this allows it to attack a little bit, right? I mean, but it is only a 1/1. So I guess with Shuko on it, it would become a 2/1.
Yeah, so it can block the opposition agent and then bounce the damage onto Stoneforge instead.
Hmm.
So it's pretty minor. It's the same thing as having the Shuko on the Stoneforge, but the Stoneforge would be the one blocking.
Yeah. So we're gonna see Josh flash in an Orcish Bowmaster at the end of Pavel's turn. I don't. I think he's choosing Pavel. Yeah, he's gonna ping Pavel down to 5. And now Josh has quite a sizable attack force here. So this Daughty Voidwalker can't be blocked. So I think Pavel, without any kind of removal, he's no matter what going to be dropped down to 2 life here. So Josh's hand looking like double reanimate and another Palantir of Orthonk. Plays the Wasteland and takes away one of the Tundras. The Tundra is exiled with a Void counter on it. I think Josh is making sure what the stats are on this Nomads on core, so it should be a 2/1 if I'm not incorrect.
Yeah, it is. It's a 2/1. So I think here, because of the reanimate, he has a nice attack with everything, and the natural block for Pavel is block the opposition agent with the 2/1 nomad, and then eat the the Bowmaster. So I think regardless of how the block works here, Josh either gets back his opposition agent or he gets back Bowmaster. Like if the Bowmaster dies, that's lethal with a reanimate, and if the opposition agent dies, he can just bring it back and still be in a pretty good
Yeah,
position.
I think Pavel's very incentivized to try to take out this Bowmaster in combat, right? Because he's going to be trying to dig for a combo kill, like another illusionist with his cantrips.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna go to blockers. We're gonna see how this plays out. It's exactly how you called it.
Yeah, I think the soul read would be to block the token and just go to 2.
I wonder how familiar Pavel is with Josh's deck. I know he's based out further out of the downtown core, so we don't get to see Josh very often. So I'm not sure how familiar Pavel is with this deck, but Josh has been piloting it for quite a while, so I wonder if he's aware of these reanimates.
So he makes the natural block. That puts him to 1, I believe. Yeah.
Yep, so reanimating this Orcish Bowmaster should just... Yep, so there's a reanimate on the Bowmaster, going to ping Pavel down for lethal. So that's going to be Josh taking it over Pavel in game number 1.
Yeah, I'm not sure what will come out of Josh's sideboard, but MonoBlack, I think probably pretty normal to see something like Chains of Mephistopheles.
How exciting.
Yeah, maybe probably he has some sweepers in his sideboard like Toxic Deluge or Marsh Casualty, something of that sort. And then Breakfast I'm more familiar with. Breakfast in the sideboard in this type of matchup, you're more likely to see things like Swords to Plowshares, maybe Prismatic Ending, but Pending not being able to kill, or I guess Pending can kill opposition agent, though it's quite costly. Yeah, I think that's what the Underground Sea is normally for, is hardcast Dread Return, Cabal Therapy, and Prismatic Ending. I think those are the main use cases for Underground Sea. Some versions will play Scrubland also for the same reason.
Yeah, okay, so we're gonna do a focus on Pavel's here because he is down a game and we want to kind of see what his strategy is to kind of climb back into this match. So I think what we've seen him take out were a couple of step throughs. It looks like he's going for everything that tutors. Because he is he's quite soft to this opposition agent.
He has Orbs Chan in his deck too. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. I actually don't know. I don't really like cutting Cauldra, but yeah, I guess Cauldra being weak to Shieldred's Edict is pretty... That's pretty annoying. But I do think the Stoneforge Cauldra plan is generally one of the better angles of attack against these types of grindy mid-range decks, because you just hit them very quickly and the card is quite hard to block.
Mm-hmm. And even then, it's like, if you're like, I wouldn't mind like cutting down the Cauldra, but if Josh doesn't, whoa, okay.
Oh, he has Triumph in his sideboard. Wow. Okay, this is a really cool pivot. I'm a big fan of Triumph here. Because yeah, Triumph is pretty much a recurring threat against MonoBlack also. Wow, that's awesome tech.
Yeah, okay, so I think I'm fine with boarding out those Stoneforges if the new threat is going to be those Triumph of St. Catherine's. So we're going to see Josh's sideboard here. I think, are all of these the cards that he's bringing in?
Yeah, so there is an actual Chains and Nether Void. I know because Josh is he's a backpack dealer, so he has quite the collection. Normally when you're playing MonoBlack, and you have a large collection, it's normally because you have access to cards like Chains and Nether Void or the Abyss, and you just want to play with them because they're very expensive enchantments that don't normally see play.
Yeah,
he looks
like they do like very cool things. Yeah,
he's got a lot of cards to bring in here.
I think he's boarding in 11 cards. He put 4 cards back into his deck box, so I think it's 11 cards, and that's quite an amount of cards for someone who kind of asserted such dominance in that first game.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about the Plague Engineers here. I know Plague Engineers is a way that you can stop Nomads, and I think Illusionist is also a 1/1, right? Or is it a 1/2? That's a 1/1.
I think all of his creatures except for the Stoneforge Mystics in the main deck are 1/1s. Actually, I guess the Oracle is a 1/3, but I don't think you're gonna be calling Oracle very often.
Yeah, I
Or I
think
think it's
it's
a wizard actually.
yeah, it is a wizard. But I think it's probably mostly for illusionists, yeah. But I think with this much disruption and removal, I don't know how needed the plague engineers are. I see he
Hmm.
also has surgical extraction. I think surgical extraction is actually pretty sweet because you can tag the Oracle in response to Dread Return after your
Hmm.
opponent combos off. But I think that yeah, your main deck is probably pretty well positioned against the combo anyways. This Triumph of St. Catherine is going to be the big swerve. For example, I really like Turok because it's common for Cephalid to be on Swords to Plowshares and Prismatic Endings and such post sideboard. So when you have a threat that's like they normally won't play Fatal Push or any black removal, so Turok is pretty much a very large threat against them.
Hmm. So Josh going really deep into this sideboard plan. I think he's sacrificing quite a few like really good mid-range cards to bring in these plague engineers.
Yeah, and he's bringing in things like I'm not sure if I agree with the Null Rod necessarily. I like these other cards, but Null Rod is mainly just stopping Shuko, right? It doesn't stop Saga, it doesn't stop Kaldra. So I
Hmm.
don't know how I feel. It might be a bit there might be a bit too many cards coming in. For example, I still like Thoughtseize quite a bit because Thoughtseize will tag a lot of these annoying cyborg cards out of your opponent's deck.
Yeah.
Um, and I think Lily
Looks like
Last Hope
he's
is
also. Yep. Sorry. Go on.
Lily Last Hope seems like it's really good in this matchup. Like Lily Last Hope kills everything and it gets back your creatures too. I guess it won't get them back against Plow, but Lily Last Hope is itself a threat that's very hard to get rid of, right? And it dodges Plow. And like if you follow
Yeah.
Liliana, you're in a really good spot against the fair plan. But lots
Yeah.
of
So
ways.
we saw that he didn't end up bringing in those null rods, the chains of Mephistopheles, and I think that fourth card was Dystopia. I'm not even sure what Dystopia does. I'll have to look into that, but
Yeah, I think
yeah, I think.
it's beginning of each
Sorry.
player's upkeep. The player sacrifices a white or green permanent and has a cumulative upkeep of 1 life.
I see.
This is D&T hate card.
All right. So we're gonna see Pavel. I'm assuming that he's gonna be on the play here. Down a game, and you want to see if you can combo off before your opponent can kind of find the answers to the combo that you're trying to assemble. But looking from that first game, Josh has so much removal that it's gonna be really tough, especially if you don't know um, what's going on in your opponent's hand. Because I know like classic Cephalid breakfast decks, they would tend to play like some number of Cabal therapies just to check to see if there's like a force of will or whatever else is going to be going on in the opponent's hand.
Mhm.
But I don't think we saw Cabal therapies from Pavel, right?
Yeah,
Maybe just like one or two.
I don't think I saw any, but in either case, Cabal Therapy in this matchup can be a bit tough because there's so many different kinds of removal spells, right? It's not just
Yeah.
like you're not just hunting for a plow or something.
Yeah. Okay. Looks like both sevens are good enough to keep for both players. Pavel going to start off with a Scolding Tarn and going to crack it. Down comes Nomad's Encore. So this is 0 mana. The next 1 point of damage that would be dealt to Nomad's Encore will be dealt to another creature you control. Another target creature you control. The target is a very key word there. So, so Josh will take his turn. I'm just gonna start off with a basic swamp, and it looks like he's in the tank. Down comes Thoughtseize. Pavel gonna reveal his hand. There's double Cephalid Illusionist, a Ponder, another Nomad's Encore, and a Tundra. So he does have combo in hand.
Yeah, it's pretty wrapped up. So Josh is gonna have to have something here, but it looks like he has grief, so it makes sense to take both illusionists here. Oh, he's just shortcutting. Okay, yeah, so he does take.
Yeah, so both both Illusionists are gone now. Wow, this went from looking really, really, really good for Pavel to suddenly looking quite bad. All right, so Josh goes down to 18, Pavel at 19. Pavel has Tundra, Ponder, Nomad's Encore in hand. Going to cast the Ponder. See Teferi, Dread Return, Flooded Strand off of the top. What do you think here? Do we shuffle or?
I would keep this on top. I think Teferi's pretty good in this fair matchup, so I would probably take Teferi and leave the fetch land second. Oh yeah, this is Paolo did it the technically correct way by leaving Teferi on top since you can't play this turn. Guarded against
Hmm.
Oh, he doesn't
Wow.
want the Teferi. Okay.
Okay. Very interesting. I think I would have favored a Teferi over the Nomads on core.
Yeah,
I think he also drew. I think there's a Narcomoeba in his hand now. I think that was what he drew for the turn.
he's gonna take the beatdown plan here, I guess.
All right, so Josh is just going to put down a Daughty Voidwalker and pass back to Pavel. Pavel going to play a Tundra.
Oh, there must have been a Teferi in his hand, or he just drew it.
Oh wait, maybe there was a Teferi in his hand.
It wouldn't make sense to shuffle then.
Yes, yeah. Okay, so bouncing the Daughty Voidwalker, Teferi going to draw one card and then go into combat. Two Nomads are going to chip in for 2 points of damage, bringing Josh down to 15, Pavel at 18. Down comes an Ancient Tomb for Josh's land for the turn. Is this going to be a replayed Daughty Voidwalker? It is. So I think Josh's plan is to try to get rid of this Teferi, no?
Yeah, that makes the most sense. So let's see if Pavel finds like plow or something. Okay, Saga is pretty nice here.
I'm not gonna lie, we were kind of bashing on those Plague Engineers earlier. They're looking
Yeah.
not bad here. All right, so Teferi going to tick up after swinging for 2 points of damage. Gonna pass the turn. Josh going to draw for his turn. Gonna see if he can get rid of this Teferi. I think that's a engineered explosives that Josh drew for the turn. Engineered explosives deals with the nomads on core quite nicely as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Down comes a second Ancient Tomb, so no Wasteland for the Urza Saga this time around. Actually, explosives is very good against the Saga tokens.
Yeah, so he's probably thinking about that now because he doesn't have the wasteland for the saga. That it's probably best if he holds this EE. I kind of think you have to just try to go after Teferi here, but we got a judge
Oh,
question.
yep, looks like he's stepping away from the table to speak with the judge. I wonder what it could be.
This might. I noticed that his chains was Italian. I think. I wonder if this is a. Can I get the Oracle text on my Chains of Mephistopheles?
I don't think he bordered it in though. I think it was one of the cards that like last minute he bulked with the null rods and then put back in his deck box.
Okay, that makes sense.
It had to be a question about engineered explosives, right? Like,
Mhm.
because that was the card that he drew for turn and then that he now played. But engineered comes down on 1. Going into combat, Pavel has a Swords to Plowshares for the Daughty Voidwalker to protect his Teferi.
Well-timed plow.
Going to crack the engineered explosives in response, get rid of 2 nomads on core. So they should be exiled with void counters on them.
Yeah, that's correct. But I think it won't be super relevant because it's not a normal target, but it could
I
come up.
also think they missed a life total change. I don't think Josh took 2 points of damage from the Ancient Tomb from cracking this engineered explosives.
Oh yeah, you're right. So Josh should be at. But he gained 3 life from the plow, right? So he should be at.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember what the life total was before actually.
I think he should be at 12. I'm gonna have to double check that, but we'll see what happens. I'll put like a point of text or just cut that. We'll see what happens. We're flying fast and loose here, guys.
But now this saga is a bit problematic because the Teferi should be safe here. Oh, okay. He's got one piece of the puzzle.
So here's another Nomads Encore for Pavel. Still handless here. Teferi now at 3 loyalty. Pavel has the ability to make a construct token with his Urza Saga as well. So not looking too bad for Pavel here.
The wasteland was very timely. I think Pavel missed an attack with the Narcomoeba maybe, but he is with 2 blockers here for the Turok. I think it was safe to hit for 1.
Yeah.
In any case,
But
very timely.
he was handless, so I don't think he knew he had the nomads coming up, so I think he was holding the Narcomoeba, but just for like a blocker just in case. But I guess if he played the nomads, he could have just attacked with the Narcomoeba.
Yeah, that's right. But in any case, the fort is being held down now by these two creatures. I guess the upside of holding the Narcomoeba back is that you don't have to block with your 1/1, right? So like your construct could become quite large later on. So yeah, okay, it's better than 1 point of damage. So that's a bad read from me.
So it looks like Pavel's looking to uptick the Teferi. There's not much else he can do. Like I think he'd rather keep it around because Josh not really threatening Pavel's life total all too much. Like Pavel's at a very healthy 18 and only looking down. I think Torok is a base 2/1, so not too threatening on his life total here. Both players have only one card in hand. Okay, Pavel gonna chip in with the Narcomoeba. Josh going to draw for his turn.
Josh had another Turok at the start of the turn, so just looking to find another black source to be able to kick it.
Okay. Whoa, this
What's
is a lot of
this?
mana.
This looks like a Dismember. Okay, this will allow Josh to attack the Teferi.
All right, brings Teferi down to 2. Passes the turn. Pavel finds an island. Going to uptick Teferi. Chips in for 1 point of damage because this Nomad's Encore cannot block the Torok. It does have protection from white. Here's another Dismember on Narcomoeba.
Yeah, this MonoBlack deck actually takes a lot of damage, actually. Right, it's the Ancient Tombs.
Yeah, Josh bringing himself down to 8. I mean, I guess the plus side here for Pavel is Josh is spending a lot of time trying to deal with this one Teferi. Pavel brings Josh down to 7 with this Nomad's Encore, chipping in for 1 each turn. Torok going to finish Teferi off finally. And just going to pass the turn. Pavel draws for his. There's a Ponder. No response from Josh. Sees Urza Saga, Triumph of St. Catherine, and Brainstorm. Has a Swords to Plowshares and a Force of Will in hand.
I think I'd be pretty happy taking the Saga here. Oh, he's going to take Brainstorm.
I wonder if he's going to try to miracle in the Triumph on Josh's turn, right?
Yeah, that actually seems like what's going to happen. Unfortunately, it can't ambush the Turok, but it is a pretty sweet play still. Yeah, I guess that makes more sense. He can attack right away. Yeah, okay.
I mean, this is pretty decent for Josh, right? This is what you've brought up before. There's a Swords to Plowshare in Pavel's hand that hasn't been able to deal this Torok. And now Pavel finds a bigger threat than these Nomads in the Triumph of St. Catherine, and Torok also just deals with it so well. So here's a Grief coming from Josh, hard casting it, bringing himself down to 4. And I assume Pavel just should let it resolve, right? I don't think there's much going on in his hand.
There is
like he has the Swords to Plowshare, right?
Yeah, and a Force of Will, or his Force of Will, Swords to Plowshares, and Brainstorm, right? So he could Brainstorm into the Triumph here, and then I know there's a Saga further down, right? So he could leave his hand as Saga, Force of Will, and then, but the problem is then the Turok just kind of brick walls the Triumph by itself, right? And you don't get lifelink, so this is definitely an awkward position. The Grief was a good draw.
Okay, so Pavel tapping looks like he wants to play the Swords to Plowshare. Oh, it's a Brainstorm.
So he is going to go for the Triumph play, I think, but he doesn't reveal the Triumph.
He does not. So drew Plains, Urza Saga, and Triumph of St. Catherine. Puts back Force of Will on top, and then Triumph on top of that. And resolving the Brainstorm, he's going to Swords to Plowshare the Grief. So this just leaves 2 lands in Pavel's hand. So kind of like a similar result, but we were where we were getting at. But Josh back up to 7 now. Torok comes in for 2 points of damage, brings Pavel down to 16. Now Josh going to try going to work on Pavel's life, but here's a Triumph of St. Catherine off of the top that we knew about. And land for turn is going to be Urza's Saga. All right, chipping in for another 1 point of damage for this Nomad's Encore. This guy has got to be like the MVP if it's not Torok.
Yeah, and I think he can actually attack with both here because he's taking such a large amount of damage if he blocks the Nomads. And the Nomad can also redirect the damage onto Triumph, so it's basically guaranteed 1 damage. And the Saga is going to do some work too. Yeah, Josh in a bit of a tough spot. He's going to have to find an answer for Triumph.
Yeah, so Josh's hand right now is looking like Surgical Extraction, Dark Ritual. So he is kind of prepared for the combo kill, but Pavel fully on the beatdown.
Yeah, I really like this pivot against a deck that you know will have a lot of interaction. To be able to find some way to play the fair plan is very strong. And there's Chains, okay.
Yep, so I was wrong. Chains of Mephistopheles has entered the battlefield. Do you want to give it a crack for our audience on what Chains of Mephistopheles does?
This is almost like a game for me, right? Let me think. So, Chains of Mephistopheles is 1 and a black for a I believe it's a legendary enchantment, and it reads, if an opponent would draw a card other than the first card they draw in their draw step, instead they discard a card, then draw a card. If they can't discard, they instead mill a card. I believe that's how this card works.
That's how it works from my memory. The YouTube comments will correct us. We're gonna see how much this is gonna come into play.
Yeah.
Pavel looking like he's just fully on the beatdown, so hopefully he doesn't play any cantrips, and hopefully we don't have to stumble our way through this ability. Otherwise, I'm just gonna have to Google it. I don't know. Maybe if it does come into play or have some substantial effect on the game, then I'll put up like the flow chart or whatever. All right, so going to create another Urza Saga construct token and then resolve the 3rd chapter, finding a Shuko. Shuko is going to try to equip onto the Nomads of Encore because it is least likely to be blocked. So Paolo going to try to chip in for as much damage as he possibly can.
Very likely lethal attack here. Yeah, that's 3 and 2. Yeah.
All right, so that's Pavel taking it over Josh in game number 2, tying it up. So now we're going to take a peek at Josh's sideboard. We're going to see how he adapts to this strategy here.
I really like having these Thoughtseizes, to be honest. Like the Thoughtseize is good against the fair plan, and it interrupts the combo. The thing about the fair plan is that a lot of Pavel's deck is still kind of geared towards comboing, right? So there's not really that many fair cards that can pivot, that he can be pivoting into. So it's mostly these triumphs, right?
Mm-hmm. So did he cut those Thoughtseizes or are they still in the deck?
I think I saw 1 in the sideboard. Alongside the reanimate. He cut the reanimates. The Liliana Last Hope was still in the sideboard, I believe. Cutting reanimate I think makes sense because your opponent mostly has plows and bounce spells, right?
Yeah. I mean, did Josh cut the Troll of Khazad Dooms?
Yeah, he also cut Troll.
Okay. So I guess that's another reason to cut down on your reanimates, because I guess you could technically Force of Will check your opponent and just try to go turn 1, cycle the troll, and then turn 2 try to reanimate and see how quickly you can. Let's see if you can take the beat down and try to outrace the combo deck. But Cephalid Breakfast is a pretty consistent combo deck nowadays. Like you only need to have it's like a 2-card combo and then you're like off to the races.
Yeah, and I think that now that he's seen that Pavel has these plows, which are pretty standard from Breakfast, I think it makes a lot of sense to cut the Troll Reanimate package. So like Reanimate's pretty much only good if you evoke Grief on an early turn. So it is a bit narrow, and the games will always go long. You're trading a lot of cards back and forth. You sort of just want to have, but I think Josh's average card quality is just quite a lot higher, right? Like Pavel's cards are 1-mana 1/1s and 2-mana 1/1 flyers. So if Josh can prevent the combo and also disrupt these like the few and far between fair pieces, then I think he's pretty well positioned. Yeah, he doesn't need to do anything crazy or unfair. I even think Dark Ritual may be a little unnecessary in this matchup, but it does allow for a fast start. Like here, I think he's got turn 1 Plague Engineer, or just turn 2 Shieldred. I think maybe the way to go.
Yeah. So we're gonna see Pavel's hand too. He's also got his combo in hand, Cephalid, Illusionist into Shuko and Nomads of Encore. So he actually has both variations of the way he can get there. But he does also have Force of Will backup. But I'm not sure exactly how many Thassa's Oracle his deck has played. There is one in his hand. I wonder if Pavel just wants to try to go with the beatdown plan again. This game is going quite long, so I don't know how much time he has if that's his choice.
Yeah, I think usually Breakfast just plays one Oracle, so it is awkward that that would be his Force of Will pitch card, unless he finds another blue card in the meantime. Yeah, this Fair Plan could do some damage. Oh, here's Cabal Therapy.
Ooh, there is a Cabal Therapy.
He names
named card is named card is Opposition Agent. So Josh gonna reveal the hand: Swamp, Shieldred the Apocalypse, Surgical Extraction, Plague Engineer, Chains of Mephistopheles, and a Dark Ritual. So this is actually not bad. Now that we know that that he has the Cabal Therapy, if Pavel eventually plays the Thassa's Oracle, he can sacrifice the Oracle to recast Cabal Therapy with its flashback cost, and then Dread return it if he needs to. But then he has to fight against a Surgical Extraction.
Yeah, so I think he probably is priced into taking Surgical Extraction off the flashback of Cabal Therapy. But here I think he's got bigger problems to worry about. He probably has to worry about Dark Ritual Shieldred here, but I mean Chains is also pretty devastating turn 2 play. I don't think you have to force, but you're definitely, it's definitely a really hard spot.
Whoa, gonna fire off the Surgical immediately. Going after Marsh Flats.
I guess Josh trying to see if there's a Force of Will for this Chains.
Okay, not terrible. Actually, this is very good for Pavel, is it not? Like, even if Josh plays the Chains of Mephistopheles, there's no cantrips in Pavel's hand. I don't think he'd be ever too worried about it. But if he does have to Force of Will something, he would have to sacrifice the Cephalid Illusionist if he does play only one Thassa's Oracle. I'm even surprised that Josh goes after Marsh Flats instead of Cabal Therapy here.
Yeah,
if his goal was to check the hand, I'd go after the flashback cost card.
Yeah, I'm a little bit unclear about that one also, because Cabal Therapy is quite good when you have a lot of these dorky 1/1s in your deck.
So where do we go from here? Is Josh planning to just... Oh, I think this is a Shieldred coming down.
Yeah, so I think he's going to force the action on this Force of Will, which sort of... Oh, the Opposition Agent was there.
Okay. Wow, that forces Pavel to...
Yeah, to ditch the illusion.
Well, I guess he needs to, because he only has the Flooded Strand in hand.
Yeah. So now the Shieldred is going to be a nightmare when it comes down a couple turns. Yeah, I think this was actually a pretty good spot to go for the Opposition Agent, because you know that your opponent... It's most common for Breakfast to only have one Oracle, so your opponent has to lose the Illusionist here. So now Pavel has to draw an Illusionist to keep this going. If he doesn't draw something here, you can just chains him and kind of make it difficult for him to try to dig towards the Illusionist.
That was like a 3-mana Hymn to Torok. Or there was like a 3-card Hymn to Torok. You had to Surgical to check what was in it, see if you would actually do it to take 2 cards out of Pavel's hand. And it was very successful. Although I still would have preferred to take the Cabal Therapy over the Marsh Flats.
Yeah, because here now Pavel can just get a card for free, right? Like, if he wanted to. I don't know if you take Chains or Shieldred. I assume you take Shieldred, though. Shieldred seems like much more of a nightmare card on average. But you do have 4 Brainstorm, 4 Ponder in your deck, so I think it's pretty close either way here.
Yeah, so we are going to see Pavel cast the Thassa's Oracle. He did that ability. I'm not even sure what it does to completion. I think it's like some weird scry according to how many devotion that he has to blue.
Yeah, that's right. It's a scry 2.
Pavel also gonna flashback this Cabal Therapy, and we're gonna see what he names. I think he's just confirming what's in Josh's hand, because Josh did play 3 cards. So he does take the Chains of Mephistopheles.
Yeah, I think makes sense. Shieldred is still a little ways off. The land was a good draw. A 4th land would be devastating for Pavel.
Yeah.
He's gonna name Illusionist. I believe it's a wizard.
Yeah,
Actually,
yeah.
it's not actually Illusionist. It's Cephalid wizard.
Yeah, I think it is a wizard as well. Alright, so Pavel draws an island. Down comes Nomads of Encore. Gonna use the Tundra. Get it down while he can, because there is a wasteland. There's Shuko. This was the game-winning play from last turn, or from game number 2. 2 mana for Shield's Edict, gets rid of the Nomads of Encore, attacks with the Plague Engineer, brings Pavel down to 15, Josh at 18. Pavel going to draw for his turn. There's a Scalding Tarn going to crack it, goes down to 14.
It would be sick if Pavel had Shieldreds of his own.
Alright, so after cracking the fetch, just going to pass back to Josh. Josh going to go straight into the combat step and attack, bring Pavel down to 12, follows it up with an opposition agent during his own main phase. Pavel going to draw for his turn, and just going to pass back. Josh kind of in the driver's seat now. Has a 2-turn clock going here. Oh no, sorry, it's not a 2-turn because Plague Engineer is smaller. There's a Swords to Plowshare on the Plague Engineer.
Yeah, I like this play. He's playing to win. If he draws Illusionist here, he's off to the races.
Yeah. So after the Swords to Plowshare, Josh back up to 20, takes the 3. Pavel takes the 3 damage, goes down to 9. Here's a Triumph of St. Catherine.
This is a big roadblock. Josh is gonna have to find a removal spell quickly.
Yeah, he hasn't found a land in these past few turns for his Shieldred. I think is that another Surgical Extraction?
I didn't see it too clearly.
There's a Turok.
So Turok is gonna wall off Triumph. We're gonna have a staring contest here.
Yep, and he just passes the turn. Opposition agent cannot attack through the Triumph.
Oh, it is a Surgical Extraction.
So this has just got a lot more brutal for Pavel.
Oh,
wow,
and there's
he
the
top sets the
Illusionist.
Cephalid Illusionist. Oh my.
Oh, this is so awkward. I kind of think you have to go for it too, just because your opponent had 1 blind draw, and it's like it could be a Dismember, but maybe you only mill like some small number, like try to get to maybe just a couple cards left in your deck.
Yeah.
But yeah, because this is not the instant speed activation, you can't actually try to play around the surgical here by only getting to the Dread Return.
Yeah, this is really awkward. I think Pavel's just gonna try to go for it. I also don't think the time is on his side, or the clock is on his side.
I think he could actually wait a little bit because Triumph is going to stall this entire board by itself, right? Like Josh can't really attack with either because if he attacks with Turok, then the Triumph is going to hit back and gain 6 life. So now would be I think he could stop here. I don't know how many cards are left in his deck.
Yeah, so there.
But however many cards are left, I think he should just. Oh, he has 4. Okay. So. I mean, this is just a tough spot. Yeah, I think I would also go for it, honestly. 1 card left in deck. Yeah, he's just going to go for it.
Oh, it looks like Josh has a response, though. Yeah, so because Pavel doesn't have any cards in hand, I think Josh can just Surgical Extraction this Thassa's Oracle, right?
Yeah, I think I would let the Dread Return go on the stack first, though, because then that clears these Narc Amiibos as well.
Yeah. So I think the judge did issue Pavel a warning here because he's not supposed to know what's on the top of his library.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's just a little bit of confusion here because I think Josh wants to know if there are any cards in Pavel's hand. I think Pavel picked up the deck to just kind of double check everything, but I think the warning is for looking at extra cards. Yeah, so Josh is just going to fire off a Surgical Extraction with the ability on the stack. So no matter what, Pavel's not going to have that one card. He's just going to lose on the next turn. So that's going to be Josh taking it in game number 3 over Pavel. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, Kevin, for commentating with me today on round number 4.
Thanks for having me.
We will see you guys next time.